Alright, ready to do this shit?
No.
My hair looks like garbage because I didn't wash today. Alright, ready? After 3, we clap. Alright?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. There. Synced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, cool. This is episode something or other on the podcast. It's named, I'm just not giving the name out yet because we've been batch recording these.
Artopia.
It's not Artopia, but that's a pretty good fucking guess. It's
Artlandia.
It's something good. It is close to Artlandia. So get in the comments.
I don't even know what the name
guess.
is.
Yeah, that's the fun part. It's like an ARG. Tom doesn't even know.
Artism.
That's way off. It's way off.
That's cold.
We can't market that. We can't put that on a T-shirt.
You could.
So.
People would be like, "What?
Wouldn't.
Like autism?" And you're like, "What? No." It's like
it's like
the religion of art. It's artism. You're like, oh,
yeah, it's artisanal artism. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. That's not the name of the podcast.
And I'm severely artistic.
We can't steal that. It's already been taken by Jeff Bezos. So
that was the original name, wasn't? No, severe artism was the original name for
Doodle Dude.
No, not Doodle Dudes, but the his like version of Doodle Dudes.
Yeah. Slightly artistic, yeah, that one.
That's what it was, yeah.
It's interesting how many of those there are now. Like, I remember when that stuff was popping off, and like the only people I saw doing it was like Drawfee. You guys know what Drawfee is? I've
heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
It's like if you could imagine, you know how like Smosh, because we love our Smosh references. You imagine how Smosh had cool Smosh cartoons. It's like how College Humor had their art spin-off, and they called it Drawfee.
Oh,
whatever fucking reason.
Was it good?
It's really good. It was like the first of its kind where it's just like an art kind of cast where people talk about what they're drawing, and they have like prompts and shit. It's got I think a cult following, I'd say, on the internet. It's interesting. They do a lot of crazy stuff. They got a lot of interesting artists on there. So if you're looking for cool shit to look at, that's not this podcast. Because God knows this podcast is not cool. Yeah, leave now. We'll go watch Drawfee. It's like 10 times better. Speaking of Drawfee, because like that thing has visuals, I've been working on the visuals for our podcast for like a week now. And it may not look like much, but it's gonna be phenomenal. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be like the next, Odyssey.
The next Avengers.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the one with the blue people, Avatar, not the one with the Benders. Yeah, not with that one.
Well,
it's just gonna be.
It's not gonna be like the shitty animated one. It's gonna be like that cool one that M. Night Shyamalan made.
Yeah, the one that broke up box office hits and is still technically the number one film to ever gross income.
No. Office. I'm not. I was talking about the live action version of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too.
Oh,
everyone went to go see it.
Everyone loved it when it came out.
And loved it.
Dude,
yeah, it's the number one gross-selling movie.
This is actually a good topic of discussion. I remember when that came out, I was so fucking excited. Like, I was bursting out of my skin. I was like, oh my god, they're making an Avatar movie. And then I didn't see it in theaters for whatever reason. I bought it on Blu-ray, and I fucking put it in my PlayStation 3, and sat there staring at the fucking screen, slowly becoming sadder and sadder, until I was like, I can't believe it. It's terrible. It's fucking...
Yeah, I can't even...
I was so disappointed.
I can't even remember the visuals all that well, but I remember being like, oh, I mean, at least they're kind of doing the bending. Like, that's all I remember as a kid being like, they're kind of doing the bending.
Have you gone back and watched, like, the scenes?
No.
Oh my god, the earthbending scene is the funniest thing I've ever seen. They're all... remember, like, in the show, like, one earthbender would just, like, punch the air, and like a mountain would explode out of the ground next to them. In the movie, they have like I think it's literally like 15 or 20 earthbenders all doing this incredibly complicated dance, and it makes one small rock float over very slowly and knock one guy over. It's the worst thing possible.
It's so strange because it's like, let's be for real, right? Because the normal Avatar has stuff kind of similar to that, where it's like people who don't know how to earthbend or people who are like learning to earthbend or anything like that. It's like, yeah, like they can barely move like a rock, you know? It's like, it's whatever. That's, you got to learn how to earthbend. But it's like, why would you just have that as like the fighting scene?
The
Why
Earth
not just
Warriors?
Yeah, the Earth Warriors that have been shackled. That's another thing.
They weren't even shackled. Like, they didn't do the prison arc.
Not even that, Tom. Yeah, because like that's a thing though, right? Because the Earthbenders, fucking Earth's everywhere, right? So it doesn't make any fucking sense to have them like enslaved or whatever or captured on Earth. It doesn't make any fucking sense because they could just break out. And the Avatar show, you know, the thing it's based off of, does a really good job of explaining that by having them on an iron island prison. Where they cannot escape at all.
This is another interesting thing that the movie did. I think this is a good decision. You know how the firebenders, the way they work is they just summon fire out of their hands? They can just turn air into fire? In the movie, in the cool movie, where they did it better, they actually made it make sense. They have to already have fire there to bend. Like, they always have to have torches everywhere so they can pull fire off of them. It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Think about how overpowered any waterbender would be.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because, I don't know, it's interesting. I guess, like, from my point of view, it's like, if they had, I think firebenders being able to, like, make fire on their own makes a little bit of sense if you, like, do a huge leap in logic.
No, because they're basically airbenders, but instead of, like, pushing air around, they can make it out of their hands. Rather, instead of just pushing air around, they can change its temperature and turn it into fire. They're basically causing combustion reactions.
Yeah, and that... Because, like, I think we even see it in, like, the scenes where it's like, firebending's not inherently that strong unless they have fire with them, or they have, like, some weird fucking arcanic...
No, they never bring fire with them. I think that there might be a couple of scenes where, like, someone throws a fireball off of a torch just for rule of cool. But, like, usually they're just pulling fire out of the air. I think that they're stronger when it's hotter. Like, if they're in, like, a super hot environment, they're more powerful. But it's not like they need to draw fire from fire.
Yeah, well, the way I always saw it was, like, it's like this, right? Where they're heating up the air somehow, and because it's oxygen, right? So then it combusts, and the thing is, though, when they do firebend, like, it doesn't do, like, serious damage. It only does, like, burning. Like, if you got, like, burned by steam, like, that's what we see, what happens a lot, where it's like Toph's feet, they get burned, but they're not, like, mortally damaged. It's like, and that's how I perceive it, where it's just hot air. Like, it's, like, barely fire, because it doesn't have, like a burning source, and so, like, and that also opens up, like, a whole other can of worms where it's like, well, where the fuck does the electricity come from? Because they're like, what, supercharging? They're making the heat even hotter? Like, is that what's happening? And if that's the case... I think that
we're getting too in the weeds, though, of trying to apply real physics to, like, magic. Where it's like, why does electricity work? And it's like, well, because it's just... You can kind of think of it as hotter air, and because it's badass. Like, it's plasma, so it's kind of like the next step up of, like, heating air. But also they're like, it's not just that. It has to do with, like, your chakra and shit. Like, you need to be able to guide it through your body just right. And even that's, like, that's technically not even how electricity works. Like, it going through your heart would be fine because it's not flowing. You're just moving it around. It's not like it would be safer it's not like it would be safer for it to go around your heart than through it.
Yeah, it's really fucked up because, like, in like, Avatar, they show, like, ways that they imprison, like, different benders, but, like, how the hell would you, like, the only way to, like, really imprison, like, a firebender, or even, like, an airbender, I guess, because they had this issue, right, where it's, like, they're able to use, like, their mouth to, like, blow fire and shit like that, or like other weird extremities. They're able to make like fucking air bend or fire bend out of nowhere, and so it's like,
well, that's
you
kind of
just have to put them.
That's what the Rock, like, what is it called? The Rock, I think it was. That's what, like, the Boiling Rock. That's what it was. That episode. Yeah. The point of that one, I think, was to show how easy to imprison a firebender really is. The whole place is made of metal, so it's like, well, they can't, like, burn the place down. All they can do is throw fire around.
Yeah, they'll just heat themselves up and die.
And then, like, what they do to imprison the ones that... They also just say, you're not allowed to firebend, and if you do, you go in the hole. And the hole is, like, a refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
It was, like, they make it cold, so that you just, like, freeze and you can't firebend.
I totally forgot about that episode. That's a really good point, Tom. Yeah. I guess they do a good job of all of that.
And then what's cool about that episode too is that like it's a callback all the way to the first fucking season. Remember in the first season, like Iroh taught Zuko like how to strategically use his firebending to keep himself warm in the cold.
Yeah.
And he's like breathing fire into his hands. He does the same shit when he's in the icebox.
Yeah, this shit's good. I love callbacks, man. Dude, I don't know what people... I'll say this much. Speaking of callbacks, there's one show in particular that does an amazing job at callbacks, and that is Arrested Development. Tom, have you ever watched Arrested Development?
I haven't, but I feel like that's kind of been on my radar. Like, I've heard about it before.
You should definitely watch it. It's even, like, it's somehow even better to watch it binging it because of the way the like comedy's written, because like what they'll do is they'll make a joke in like the first season, right, and then they'll call back that joke in like maybe the third or fourth or even the second season. But the thing is, you don't need context to the callback because the joke on its own is already written so well that you'll laugh at the joke, like because you could watch them out of order and you'd still laugh at the joke. But if you've watched the show before and you know what they're calling back to, it makes the joke even funnier because you know where they're coming from with this. And the original joke that they made with it, as well as the new one, are both hilarious as shit. And it just keeps on like adding on to itself. And it's fucking like genius how it's written.
You know what that reminds me of? Yeah. That reminds me of the whole discussion that they had about Smiling Friends on the Create Unknown podcast, a much better podcast. Where they were like... He talked about how like they wanted to make sure that if you didn't know any of these like internet references or any of these internet people, you'd still like the show. And I bring that up because I don't know any of those references. Like that, all the people that were on that show are like other than the Only Plays cast, which had a weirdly small role, really.
Yeah,
I didn't like know any of those people. Like, I remember he was talking about, like, I think that the whole, like, Desmond thing would still fit without knowing who this guy is. And, like, I didn't know who that guy is. I had no idea that like, Desmond's voice actor was, like, a person who was popular on the internet. I just thought it was a funny voice.
Yeah. Or the wall guy is actually Finn Wolfhard. Nobody knows that shit. Because, like, they augment his voice. Like, they change it up a bit.
Oh, did they actually augment his voice? I thought it was just because, he's just a good voice actor, and he's not, like...
No.
He doesn't voice act a lot, so his voice is recognizable. He's a face actor.
They, like... Yeah, I think they said they literally, like, pitched it down a hair just to, like, get it to change a bit. Yeah, that's another weird thing no one talks about. Finn Wolfhard and his brother are, like, also extremely good voice actors. Like, they're in fucking... What's that spinning show? With that spinning tops? I sound like a fucking dumbass, but
no,
it's
no,
it's not Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, not Bakugan.
No, it's not Bakugan. Yeah, all these classic,
Beyblade,
like, fucking icons, Beyblades. Yeah, they're like voice actors in Beyblade and shit. Like this is not like new news, but like if you watch Beyblade and you're like, huh, that voice sounds familiar. That's Finn Wolfhard and his brother in fucking Beyblade. It's like what? They're in everything.
That's the weird thing too, how like his brother is just also independent. Like he's way more famous than his brother. His brother is just also coincidentally independently successful.
Yeah, his brother's a really good voice actor as well, even though I can't name his name. The Wolfhards.
Jonathan Wolfhard.
Yeah. What was I gonna mention? There's Oh yeah, that's another thing. So to go back on like the whole comedy trend thing, where it's like you make a joke not just for yourself, but like for the audience. I think that's a really good kind of like rule to play when you're like making something funny or like a skit in animation or anything like that. Like if you can't like if you're gonna make something and like the whole like joke of it is like you'd have to be like a cool nerd who understands like what Warhammer is and understand the Warhammer lore, that like this specific the fucking Necron's like coming up from the ground and he's like, oh, I had a long slumber, because like that's not funny unless you're a guy who plays Necrons.
To be fair,
and you understand the joke.
I have a deep appreciation for that kind of humor. I really like it when they can like nail a joke that only works if you're like knowledgeable in a certain thing, but it's not going to be like, you know, mass appeal, you know?
Yeah, well, and I think what I'm really getting at is I think it's okay to have that, but it's even better if like the joke you are making could like literally
also
be
just work on its
interchangeable
own,
with any other IP or character, right?
Mandalore Gaming is pretty good at that. Like, he has tons of referencey jokes like that because he's very deep in a lot of fandoms like Warhammer. But typically, his jokes, he'll try to make it just also funny on its own. Like, if you're in that, like, because I don't know anything about Warhammer, but I watch all of his Warhammer videos, just because they're entertaining. And there's jokes where, like, I'm sitting there, like, I don't get what this is referencing at all, but I'm still laughing really hard because it's just executed well. Like, it's just funny on its own. Like, it'll be like making fun of a certain race or a class or something. And you can understand, like, that's what they're doing, so it's still funny, even though it's an in-joke you're not in on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, comedy's weird like that, where you just, honestly, even if you're, like, coming up with your own new material that's not based on anything, it can be even harder. So it's like, it's like this weird double-edged sword you kind of run into, where it's like, do I try to be funny, or do I not try to be funny, and I just kind of play into the role that everyone else is playing into, where it's like, I'll make a funny reference to My Little Pony and then be done with it. And everyone will laugh, everyone will clomp, or whatever they do.
They don't clomp. That's not a thing. You're combining clopping, which is the act of masturbating to My Little Pony porn, with with glomping, which is like an anime fucking hug.
Yeah.
That was the whole statement. I mean, that's literally what you fucking did. But
do you think they do that?
What, clopping?
I don't think. Yeah. Do you think they hug and clomp at the same time?
No, I don't think they do. Holy shit!
Well, they don't exist anymore.
Milkshake just posted so I've been hyperfixating on like Undertale and shit. I'm not gonna spend too long on this because there's not a ton to talk about with it. Unless I talk about...
You should talk about it a lot.
Spark, you've played Undertale, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen a Let's Play or two.
That doesn't count. That's not playing Undertale. But anyway...
You're not a real fan.
This is another thing that always makes me sad when I'm like, have you played Undertale? It's like, yeah, I watched a Let's Play. And it's like, then you haven't fucking played it.
No, I've actually played it.
That game is really different... Oh, that counts, yeah. They actually add like special console exclusive shit to all the console versions. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like the dog shrines.
The Switch one's the best one, which is kind of why I'm glad I got that one, because you get an actual battle. You get like a real thing.
The only downside is you can't manipulate your fun values, so you can't get the weird Gaster shit. Yeah. Well, you can, but you know, it's very rare. What was I fucking talking about?
Your obsession with Undertale.
Yeah, but why did I bring
specifically? Because you've been drawing so much porn of the goat guy.
I have, but he's not technically an Undertale character.
Yeah, he's Deltarune. We get it, Tommy. You're a fan.
I just now I drew fucking evil papyrus. What is it? Fell papyrus from Underfell. Oh, that's why I brought it up. Go ahead. Yeah. I'll say it after.
This is just a small thing where it's like, I get the appeal of Undertale as like a media, as like a thing to like enjoy, and I even get the idea of people making like fan characters and stuff like that. But what I don't get is like how like crazy the amount is for Undertale. Like it borders on the line of insanity.
I can explain it perfectly. The reason is because in Undertale, so there's this whole thing of, what is it? Saving and loading in Undertale is all, like, canon. I know you already know this, I know most people already know this, but it's worth, like, talking about. It's the fact that saving and loading is all canon, and that at the end of a genocide route, I believe Kara talks about taking over the timeline, like, they take your soul, and they're like, now I am in control of this meaningless world. We will destroy this timeline and make a new one. And at the end of a pacifist route, you can do the quote-unquote true reset, which is essentially obliterating the entirety of a timeline and starting completely over from new, which is different from the resets, which let people, like, have a little bit of nostalgia and, like, weird, like, deja vu. You might kill someone and then reset and not kill them, and they'll be like, that's weird, I feel like I recognize you. And because of that stuff, because of the fact that, like, your actions can impact and alter the timeline, in addition to some fan art someone did of Toriel, that made her look like crazy and evil, those two things kind of crashed together and made people start thinking about, like, okay, so in the game you can only mess with and alter the timeline so much. What if you could do it more? Like, what if we really, like, stretch what this timeline can be and start creating, like, new versions of this world? So it started with Underfell, which is basically Undertale, but, like, much darker. All the characters are a lot meaner and more dangerous, but the overall goal is still the same. And then it continued into Underswap, which is just taking major characters, because most of the characters in Undertale have, like, a parallel character. Toriel has Asgore, Sans has Papyrus, Alphys has Undyne. Just taking those character pairings and swapping them. And then from there, it just fucking became an avalanche. Because it just gave so many people, like, so many creative ideas of, like, well, how can I expand on this? I can do Swapfell, or I can do a completely new thing. I can fucking... And it became this just insane, like, whole... At this point, it's gotten to the point where, the community has basically decided that all of the alternate universes everyone makes all take place in the same big multiverse, and now all the crossovers are also canon. And it's like...
Especially the one where you fuck the pie,
yes.
Right? What's that one called?
That's called Undertale.
Alright.
That's Doxy's game. That's not so much like an AU, that's more... Because it only is, like, the ruins. It's not even in the ruins, just Toriel's house. But that's the weird thing, it's like, in another fandom, that would just be like a random fan game. But in Undertale, you're like, is that an AU? Like, is that canon? Could my character go to Undertale? It's like...
And fuck the goat. Yeah.
But the reason I brought any of this up in the first place is, Milkshake just posted a screenshot from Glitchtale, which is a fan animation AU thing that was made by an animator called... I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation, but I think it's Camila Cuevas. And it's crazy because, like, it's all, like, just a, it's a passion project. It's like, there's a lot of parts of it that just look like shit, or, like, the characters are stupid. But it's fine because it's just someone having fun and, like, animating a thing. But what blows me away is I'm looking at this screenshot. Maybe you can put this in the video or something for the podcast.
Yeah, I'll find a way.
This screenshot looks like, like fucking dog shit as an illustration on its own. It's fine as part of an animation. Because these episodes were like 20 minutes long, animated.
You don't like the viewpoint angle? You don't like the composition?
I don't like the fucking flash line tool books.
Too many rectangles?
And the shitty, like, squished Azrael head. But what blows my mind is that when you go to, like, the last episode of Glitchtale, it's, like, incredibly well drawn and animated to the point where I was like, this is like an anime episode. This is like an amateur anime episode. This is incredible. Mm-hmm. Especially the final battle. It's so fucking well done. It blows my mind to see it like side by side like that, to really see the improvement.
Yeah, I mean, even when we were watching, because we were doing a little watch party of it.
Yeah.
Milkshake, Tom, and fellow members on the Discord. It's like it's fascinating for being like an outsider looking in, because, like, really, truth be told, the only thing I care about, or not even care about. Like, I understand what Undertale is. Like, that's as far as I'll go. You know, the characters are cool. People draw porn of them. That's nice. But like, I was not following the story whatsoever, and honestly, you don't really need to.
How
because,
the fuck? The whole point of that game is the story.
Well, not Undertale. I meant the animations.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Yeah. I wasn't following it for shit, but every time I like looked at it, I was like, wow, you know, I get it, because like, it's weird, because in like the industry, right, you'd have like, you pay people to be like, oh yeah, just do these like simple still shots, and, you know, it's like whatever, and they don't have to look good, but they have to look on model, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you just have like one person basically doing everything, and then them focusing on the things that they actually care about, which clearly was like the fight scenes.
The fight
and stuff
scenes
like
and the effects animation were both just great.
Yeah, which honestly, if you were gonna make an animation akin to something like this, and you want to focus on something, I would focus on those things, because it's not like they're easy, but they're definitely a lot more fun to work on than just like a still shot of like a camera slightly panning and then you having to focus on like a mouth animation and shit like that. Like, that's not fun. I mean, we've all fucking synced audio to like lips and shit. It's tedious. It's a little rewarding when you see like a character talk. It's nice, but like, it's not fun. Like, I mean, let's be honest.
That whole thing, it doesn't have like voice acting or lip syncs at all. Mm-hmm. It's all just text on the screen, which I think that is a major detriment later as the fight scene animation gets better. You just end up with these really long parts where it's just still shots of people's faces with text over them. And it's like, okay, this is boring as shit. Like, this is paced really bad. But you're just sitting there like, I want to get to another fight scene. I don't care about fucking rave.
They could have made it a little bit more visually interesting, you know? Yeah. Like how they literally could have just copied verbatim the way Undertale. Although, I wouldn't have done that, because like, so if you copy verbatim like how Undertale does its dialogue, and you have like shitty pixel text with like drawn animation, it looks bad. It always looks bad. But they do some stuff in that where it's like, yeah, they use different, they use fucking, sans.
Yeah, they use different fonts. They use different colors.
Yeah, they use fonts.
But they also have this thing where like they commit to they have a commitment for some reason to making sure the character like dialogue that already existed from Undertale stays the same. So like, all the monster characters, fucking Asgore, Toriel, Kara, Azrael, all their text is just the Undertale font, so it can be much more confusing of like who the fuck is talking right now. Mm-hmm. But they do handle that pretty well too. They kind of try to make sure that the person who's talking is on screen, or it's obvious that they would be the one talking. It's well made.
It's definitely fascinating. It's something. I mean, it's clearly something that the people in the community love, because there's people making fan stuff for that fandom.
Oh yeah,
so it's like, it's obvious that whatever. This just kind of goes back into like the comedy thing where it's like, they focused on an IP, but they liked the IP and they knew how to write it at the very least, mm-hmm. and like animate it. So it got other people who liked the stuff liking it, and that's what they wanted, right? That's what they wanted, to make something that fans would love, and it's good.
I still think that the fight animations are just unreal, that it like developed that far and got that much better.
Mm-hmm. Also, we talked about this where it's like every episode gets longer because like they just add more to it.
Oh, dude,
it's like this weird animation feature creep.
The final episode was like 50 minutes. An animated thing,
and like
by,
the first
by
episode's
one
like
person.
5 or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. It's literally insane. Like, I would have just stuck with like doing like just a set time where being like, I'll get to the next fucking scene when I get to it.
It's that YouTuber mentality where they're just like, it's just, they don't have a planned time like length. They're just like, however long it ends up being for the story is how long it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, granted, that's great because that's what the medium is, right? The internet, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to have traditional frame rates. You can just do whatever frame rate you want.
I was thinking about this. I would love to see if someone, like, I don't know, just went back through that series and, like, remastered it to just make the pacing better. So there's not as much moments of just staring at a person looking at the screen with text over their head.
Yeah, you want the Dragon Ball Z Kai experience. Yeah. Where they cut out all the bullshit.
I mean, even, like, keep that character stuff there, but so much of it was so unnecessary. Mm-hmm. I get why it was there. It's made by one person who's like, this is probably the first narrative thing they've ever made. But still. It's just one of those things that would benefit from, like, a remaster.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, it's one of those few times where it's like, because I would never recommend this to anyone where it's like, yeah, if you just want to make a feature-long animation, just do it now. It's like, nah, you should actually, like, practice animation and, like, make smaller projects that you can finish. It's one of the few, like, occasions where a person was like, nah, I'm going to ignore that and follow through on ignoring that philosophy, which there's only, like, a handful of people I know that can actually do that and pull it off. Like, the vast majority of people who have that mentality tend to be the people who don't finish projects and never get anything off the ground, and then they just, like, they cry and then they stop doing the thing that they want to do.
I don't know if you saw me talking about this, but it made me sad when I saw, like, there's a fucking hour-and-a-half YouTube video that has almost 1 million views that came out 3 months ago that's called, I think it's called, like, Why Glitch Tale is Objectively Terrible, and it's like, no, it's fucking not. Like, yeah, the story sucks. Like, I'll just say outright, the story is really dumb. Yeah. The OC characters, like, I barely cared about. I was like, I don't
But care so about, are you.
I don't care about Rave. I don't care about Jessica Gray. Yeah. But it's like a labor of love, and the fucking, if nothing else, the fight scenes were fucking awesome. And I will not accept any other, like, opinion on that. They're so good. There was
you can't even be like an asshole about it. It's true.
There were parts of that where I was like, this is like Gurren Lagann. This is insane. Mm-hmm. And that's extremely high praise for me, because to me, Gurren Lagann is like the pinnacle.
Yeah, I definitely think if you guys are interested in the series, just like do a little watch party of it. You know, it's like, yeah, I fucking hate it when, like, not to compare apples to oranges, but, you know, like, the fucking, you know, what the animation I'm talking about, where it's the fox lady and the guy, it's, fucking, what's its name? It's stupid. It's,
I have no idea.
Why am I blank? You know, the one where it's, fucking, I gotta look it up now, because I'm having, like, a brain seizure right now. It's, like, it's so iconic, everybody knows it. It's, you know, the purple fox and, like, the guy with the stupid hat and the ears, right? How do you not know this animation, Tom?
The purple fox and the guy with the hat and the ears.
Mike and Melissa. It's Mike and Melissa. Yeah, that's the one.
She's a skunk.
She's a skunk. Yeah, I fucked it up. Royally. Anyways, Mike and Melissa, right? Not to compare the two, but it's fascinating because, like, Mike and Melissa.
Series.
Yeah, because they're born from, like, I want to say they're born from not the same ignorance, but they're born from the same, like starting out path, right? Mm-hmm. This is clearly someone's, like, first, like, dive into, like, trying to make something big, and, you know, maybe not having, like, all the pieces because they're only good at, like, one or two things, and honestly, that's the vast majority of people, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to be the guy who can animate and then fucking be a good voice actor on top of, like, knowing how to, like, sync audio and, like, have everything leveled perfectly. Like, that takes a lot of dedication and skill to be good at all of those things. Yeah. And then we're not even talking about, like, making sound design and then, like, making music on top of that. And, like, all the fucking myriad of other bullshit you have to learn how to do to make, like, a proper, like cohesive thing that everyone can say visually and, like, audibly just looks nice. And so that's kind of where these two, like, properties start out, right? And that's the only connection they have. And then they kind of veer off each other, where the Mike and Melissa guy is making a series about his, like, weird kind of, like, horrible life. Like, like it's almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode, but he's just being like shitty. Like he's actually shitty.
Yeah.
Where it's like you could kind of relate to like Curb Your Enthusiasm because you're like, yeah, that is kind of weird that you pointed that out to me. Like you have to do that weird thing, but he's just complaining all the time.
Yeah.
About like he just to give you like a brief synopsis, this guy complains about in his animation where he's animated, he clearly does these things where like he howls. That's like the first fucking scene is like him howling in his room, and then people tell him to knock it the fuck off because that's something that would happen to him in real life because he probably did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like all these are clearly like real life experiences this guy's had, and he's just animated them into like this nice little episode. And like he goes off on his like professor that's teaching him like viewpoint angles and like how like rectangles should look good, and like and it's like, well, yeah, because like
rectangle is stupid.
Yeah, and he's making fun of he's trying to make fun of the people in his life by making them sound like stupid when like they're clearly not, like in the real world. But and it's anyways, it just divulges into this whole like in this weird like self like pity thing, and you know what, fine, whatever, that's what he wants to make. He wants to make his own like Curb Your Enthusiasm but animated. Great, you know, let him do it. And he does some pretty shitty things in that series that not a lot of people talk about, with like he brings up like his ex-girlfriend like name, like he drops his ex-girlfriend's name, and it's like, and he pees on a tree, which I can't stand for as a carpenter. Yeah. Asshole. But yeah, it's and that's that whole animation is great and all in its own way, but
not in the way that the creator intended, though.
Exactly, and the way it got uploaded, or at least got attention, was from the art students that were like who had to go to school with this guy and deal with his.
From what I've heard, it seems like the guy himself is just a shitty person that people didn't like.
Yeah, but
then again, like to be honest, that kind of person, like. I would guess he's probably on the spectrum or something, right? Is that fair?
I have no clue.
But, you know,
maybe.
Even if he's not, like, he's like that, at least, you know? That kind of person can just sometimes end up getting bullied because, like, people don't have the patience to, like, get to understand why they're the way they are. Like, I've had
or just even...
There's interactions with people on this server, not, like, currently, but, you know, in the past, where it's just, like, someone joins and they're kind of weird like that. But, you know, I'm just like, well, I'm used to people on the internet, so I don't care, and I get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, like, oh, this person's, like, cool, and they do this, this, and this. But then, you know, someone else who's never talked to them before is suddenly getting into, like, a big argument with them, and I have to go in and diffuse it, because I'm like, shit, there's just, like, 5 different misunderstandings happening at the same time with this poor person.
It's another example of the fucking nostalgia critic effect, and I'm coining that term now. Or Cinemassacre effect. You can choose which one. I think Cinemassacre effect, it kind of rolls off the tongue better. But yeah, it's that thing where you have this guy who's doing his thing and has always been doing his thing, but the moment they talk about something that's relevant or like interesting or like or not even like modern or just like anything where like a wider audience of people can like poke in at and be like, you're wrong because of this, that, and the next thing. It divulges into this weird, like, this guy knows nothing, and it's like, well, yeah, he's the whole reason.
Walker.
Yeah, you have no context for the personality or even the person you're talking to, and so you can't even like fathom the concept of someone talking like this because you've never interacted with someone like this. The problem isn't the person necessarily. It sometimes can be where they're just like belligerently like obtuse and horrible, but
to be fair,
the vast majority of the time, yeah.
I was going to say, to be fair, most Nostalgia Critic fans also hate the wall review anyway.
Yeah.
But it got a lot more backlash because of other people outside of that world catching wind.
And there's been experiences of, like, not even just the wall review, like his fucking Bart's Nightmare review, like, was also another big one.
And he had to go the point where apologize in front of Congress.
Yeah, he has to call back on it, too, in, like, other episodes where he's like,
I don't want another Bart's Nightmare.
Yeah, but you can definitely see, I guess, where I'm coming from, where it's like, I think in order to, like, truly, like, have a, like, honest-to-God conversation with anyone, in general, you have to have like some type of like background knowledge about this person. And the problem with, I'll say, creatives, because it's a broad term and it works for most creative people, because we get into this headspace where we're busy working on the thing that we're working on, and everything else kind of takes like a back burner, where it's like we kind of like separate the two, or we don't even like acknowledge like the outside world for a hot minute, and then like time passes and things change, and it's like, oh, I've been gone for like centuries. It's literally like you're training in like the fucking time chamber, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know if you've ever had. I don't know if like you hyperfixate on shit as hard as I do sometimes, but like I'll have days at work where I'm just not even. I'm not mentally there at all. I'm like putting in receptacles and thinking about like, you know, like lately it's been like Undertale stuff, and like, oh, I would really want to draw that. That would be such a cool like angle to like look at this story from. Oh man, I would love to, you know, maybe like thinking about video essay ideas for like character analysis and things like that. Just fucking screwing in receptacles.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like, I don't think everyone is like this in the creative space, but the vast majority of people are, where it's like you will end up starving yourself working on a project because you don't realize you're starving yourself, because the focus is the project, and it always has been. And we've caught ourselves doing this same exact thing where it's like, oh shit, I'm literally starving to death, or like I literally can't, like I need to go take a piss because like I got the gamer bladder, right? And the reason I have the gamer bladder is because you get so like, especially with video games, with creatives, or just like anyone who's like hyper fixated on stuff, video games in like the early stages of your life will teach you how bad you are about this, where it's like you'll be like that fucking kid on that YouTube video where he's talking to his mom, he's like, nah, stop, stop, and his mom's like, you're shitting yourself, you're literally shitting yourself. And if you're like that kid to almost the extent where it's like, oh yeah, because like even like not even modern video games, but like just like PS2 games or anything like that, you had to actually go to a place and save, or you told that excuse to your like mom or parent, right? And then the thing was, though, you were just hyper fixated on the video game itself, or like the creative endeavor, to the point where you were shitting yourself, or like you're about to like fucking like piss your pants because you're like, oh shit, I've been working on this thing for like 8 hours and I haven't even taken a single break. And it's like, that's not good, that's not healthy. But
I wish I still had that in me. When I was younger, I used to like do that. I used to draw for 8 hours in one day, just sitting in front of my computer. And it makes me sad that I don't really have that in me anymore. Like, I don't do that really. I want to work on that. Like, some weekends, I want to start just sitting down and be like, I'm not going to do anything but draw all day. I just want to waste a day doing only this one thing. Because I want to be... Not that I want to do that all the time, just that I want to be able to have that stamina again. In case I ever want to do that.
I think where that actually comes from is, like we've said previously, is like your environment. Like, if you're a kid playing video games, chances are you're playing them in the living room, right? So that's the video game area to you. So that's where you play video games and nothing else happens.
Nah, that's not what happened with me.
Then,
but go on and finish your thought. I'll tell you about it in a second.
All right. Well, so like that's kind of what we've been talking about, like in the last podcast, or just in general, where it's like to have that honest to goodness like workflow. You see this even with just like normal ass jobs, where it's like you go to the place where you work, and that's where you work, right? You drive 15 minutes.
This I do
to
agree
fucking Walmart,
with, yeah.
And you stock shelves, and that's where you stock shelves. You don't stock shelves at home. You don't clean someone else's house. You go and clean someone else's house. You make money, and then you come back, and then you don't clean your house because you're fucking tired of cleaning houses, right? And that's why your main house looks like shit. It's because you don't want to spend the time doing your job at home, because home's where you relax, right? What are we gonna get into, Tom?
I was just gonna say, like, I rarely had a special, like, specific spot for my art, or not art, but like video games. I would just play, because I played on like a laptop. Like, something I was gonna bring up was the fact that I remember this one particular night always sticks with me because of how crazy it was. It was around when I first got Terraria, like in 2011 when it came out. I was just sitting and playing Terraria, and I probably started at around maybe 8 or 9 at night. and then I was just playing and like doing shit and like completing like little goals I was setting for myself, because that game doesn't really like tell you what to do. You just running around having fun, and suddenly I look up at the window and the fucking sun is coming up. I was sitting there playing Terraria for like 9 or 10, maybe 12 hours, just straight on my laptop at like the kitchen table, and didn't even notice.
I have a weird like Terraria side tangent too, where it's like I had this like shitty like HP fucking book.
I had the exact same thing with like shitty HP fucking laptop that died after like 3 years. No, it wasn't.
Was it like small and you could carry it around?
Bulky and heavy.
Yeah, I had like the HP like netbook or whatever the fuck you call it, where it's like it's clearly made for like going on like websites and that's about it. But I had the gumption to like, I'm gonna fucking download Terraria on this, and I'm gonna have Terraria. I can play Terraria anywhere I want with this thing. And this was before like smartphones became like a big thing, or even like mobile Terraria was a thing. This was like before even that, where it's like the only way to play Terraria on the go was to like get a gaming laptop or just a laptop and like figure out how to like make it run it, to the point where this shitty little laptop would heat up like hotter than the fucking like kitchen stove
for Terraria.
And I'd be playing it. I'm like, yeah, I'm playing it. I'm like, dude, this is fucking badass. And every time I'd go to like the snow world and like it did the snow effect, it would crash the game because that was just one too many pixels I couldn't handle. And this is fucking Terraria, and like
it's like, but about then, as intensive as like a Flash game.
And even then, I was like, I would always play like video games in like the living room. Like even when I was like at someone else's house, I was like, yeah, let's play Terraria. And I'd be in the living room as we played Terraria, because like usually the like house computer or whatever is next to like the living room, it tends to be, so it's like you just do that. And so like even when I was a kid, I kind of knew these things where it's like I feel comfortable playing video games in the living room because that's how it's always been. And this is not to say that like I'm one of those people that like can't deal with change. I can't understand it. It's like I've gotten very comfortable with change just by the very nature of having to move around a lot, and like just having new environments constantly just thrown at me. Not even like because of my own stuff. It's just like because of the natural forces outside of my own environment. And so it's not that I don't like change. It's that when change does happen, I create these spaces that will feel the same. They don't. Yeah, exactly, because they don't have to look the same to be the same, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, well, now I can't go hiking anymore because I moved to Toronto and there's no good hiking spots like there is in fucking West Albuquerque. It's like, no, dude, it's just you gotta find them, and
Did
then
you actually live
it's
in
the
Toronto?
same shit. No, that's just some bullshit.
Oh, okay, I was like, were you Canadian at one point?
Hell no. Fuck that place. Fuck Canada. Yeah,
we lost
that's a solid stance.
All of our Canadian viewers.
I hope so.
The money is going down the drain. 87% of our viewership was Canadian.
Yeah, well, guess what? Their money's worthless, and it's fucking made of plastic.
It's all loonies and toonies.
Yeah. What's this? Yeah, America's making plastic water bottles. You're making plastic money, assholes. All right, you don't need that. We have credit cards.
Yeah, not to mention that plastic money, like money, is actually meant to be like destroyed after a certain number of years. So it's like guaranteed waste.
Also, I can't put it on my wall and use it as plaster because it's plastic. I need fibers. I need fucking jeggings. I need my paper money to be made out of jeggings so that I can use it as wallpaper. And so when the fucking dollar goes down, I can just use it as a nice, wallpaper.
When the dollar goes down, what you should do is buy lots and lots and lots and lots of dollars and just hoard them, so that when it goes back up, it's like buying stocks.
So what I'll do is, Tom, it's like copper pennies, right? Where I'll just hoard all the copper pennies, but for me it'll be all the dollar bills. And the moment when the cost of blue jeans goes higher than the amount for the materials, I'll have the dollar bills, which are made from the same material as your blue jeans, and I'll make fucking dollar bill jeans, and they'll sell more for than what the money's actually worth. See, that's the economy. That's how you make money in America, fellas.
What about the cost of the actual manufacturing of turning
the labor cost?
Yeah.
It won't be anything because I'll ship all the money
slaves.
to like. Well, I won't use slaves. I'll use what do they call it? Unpaid interns. So. Yeah.
Call it whatever you want.
Well, I call it making a profit, Tom, and that's all that matters in this world.
It's like the Nortel fucking. What do we make here? Switches, sir. No, we make money.
Yeah, exactly. We make money and pictures of Spider-Man, Tom. We need tons of them.
We need pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Why do we need more pictures, sir? We have like hundreds. I want
Why aren't you drawing pictures of Spider-Man, Tom?
Because I'm drawing pictures of Ralsei being a slut.
Yeah, you are. Anyone not following Tom, you should, because let me tell you, that stuff is too hot to try. You know what I'm saying? That's some fucking that's some stuff that will make you fucking sweat at night. You know what I'm saying?
He was literally fucking. I was drawing a Ralsei thing where it was like. Chris wasn't even like jerking him off. He was like fingering his butthole or something.
Yeah.
And Spark was like salivating. He couldn't stop talking about how he was like, my god, it's so hot.
We had to delay the podcast because I didn't want you to stop drawing. That's how bad it was for me, Tom. It was it was some good stuff. I really did, and he did.
And I posted it, and it got like 80 likes, which is alright.
Yep. That's pretty good. It's nice, double digits, almost triples.
Yeah, I don't get that much anymore. I don't know if it's just because I stopped posting for a long time, or if that's like Twitter changing. Because Twitter gave me that warning that's like, "Fuck you, you're gonna get fucked over in the algorithm now, bitch."
Yeah, because you're not paying for Twitter, Tom.
It was because because I have not safe for work content on my account, even though I set it to know that.
Yeah, it's because fucking I don't know. I know why. It's because people can't police their kids, and so everyone has to hoot and holler at Twitter to be like, "Hey, can you at least make it so that they have to sign on to look at this 18+ stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay, I guess."
But that's always
destroys our profits.
No, that's been how that worked for like over a decade.
It used to just be you click yes, I'm over 18.
But I mean, isn't that the same thing?
You know,
thing like I'm saying that you've always had to log in for a very long. Like that's not new to like Elon or anything.
Well, yeah, I think the reason it is a log-on system now is because, as a stupid kid once, it was very annoying and hard for me to make a Gmail. Like I didn't understand computers and shit, so I can see it from that point of view. But like, fucking hey, kids, I don't know how the fuck kids do this shit now, Tom, where they manipulate their parents to give them a Gmail account. Like, I couldn't even pull that shit. I don't know how these kids with iPads are able to, like, have accounts. Yeah, I can see that. But if they... Dude, oh my god. Kids, alright, this is a warning to all the kids listening to our smut podcast, is if you, for some wild, like, dang-fangled reason, are using your, like, email account from school on, like, YouTube or, like, Twitter or any other kind of risque website, a news flash, you can just easily set something up in the Gmail that you give to other people that they use to just see exactly their search history and everything under the sun they've been doing, as well as just seeing comments that they put on YouTube, to the point where I had this very same experience where I asked my mom to make me a Gmail because, as a stupid kid, I read the Google's terms and service being like, you have to be 16 to make a Gmail, so get a parent to it's literally the Club Penguin thing where it's like, get a parent's email and have them tell you that it's okay to have a Gmail. I was like, that's fucking easy. My mom will totally do that. And she did. And my first Gmail account honest to God, I'm so happy I did this, but, like, it could have been a lot worse. Like my sister, I'll explain that later. But for me, what happened was, I was watching Yogscast, and I was watching a very specific series called Flux Buddies, and I don't know if you know anything about double entendres, but that word sounds a lot like other things, and that was the point of the joke of that just fucking series. And I commented the classic comment of first, and my parent at the time, my mom, who I asked to make me a Gmail, reacted to that in a Gmail. This is fucking crazy. She Gmailed me a reaction being like, "Oh, that's nice." And the moment I saw that little notification in my like fucking email or whatever, I was like literally my face turned white and I was mortified. I was like, oh God, I need to figure out how to change this right away. And this shit literally happened with my younger sister who asked my father to make her a Gmail. But you know what she commented on YouTube? She commented on a no, it's worse. She commented on a YouTube video that explains what furries are, and you know what her comment was?
What?
This is very informative. And then I had the displeasure of not only hearing about this secondhand through my father, who was on the phone with my sister at the time, being like, "Oh yeah, it's great that you're interested in furries and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh my God, my dad did the same thing." And it's this fucking, it'll always have, it's literally the equivalent of like your parent running in to your room and you're fucking masturbating or something like that. Luckily, that's never happened to me yet. So
it did happen
here's
to me.
Hoping.
And
oh God.
So here's the thing. My mom is extremely nice. But when it comes to anything sexual, she's like a fucking nun. It's insane. Like, when I think I was like maybe 13, I had like a little tablet, and I was just like watching, not even watching, I was like on fucking Rule 34 or something, just jerking off to shitty anime porn. And my mom walked in, and I just like, changed the tab or whatever. She's like, "What are you looking at?" And I was like, "Nothing," because like I hadn't learned how to be an expert fucking liar yet. Now I can just like lie straight through my teeth without hesitating. I can make those stories up in an instant, baby.
I still can't do that.
Could pass a lie detector test with ease. But so like I was just really bad. I was just like, nothing. No, what are you looking at? Nothing. I wasn't looking at anything. I was just like YouTube videos or something. And she takes the thing and she goes into the search history and she finds like Rule 34. She must have seen like some shitty fucking poorly drawn anime porn or something. And this dumb fucking bitch marches through the house and screams,
"That's your mom.
Thomas was watching porn!" And it's like, it was
That's
so
horrible.
humiliating. And then she fucking collects up everyone's phones and puts like parental blockers on all of them so that you can't access anything. Which just means that she taught her kids how to like fucking use like unblocked versions of websites and things like that. Just like, here, I'll give you a lesson on how to be more tech literate, basically, because we're not gonna like stop. It's fucking like when you're 13, like everyone's fucking watching porn at that point. Like that's natural. You gotta calm the fuck down. That might be why I draw porn now, because it's like it was so repressed.
I had the same thing, but like opposite, where it's like I never had. This is gonna sound horrible, and I don't want to like talk about. I don't know. No one knows my family life more than me, and I feel like talking about it on a podcast may not be. It feels a little uncouth, but just so that you have some cannon fodder, Tom, I'll say this much. I think the reason I was late to the porn game, because I'll be honest, like the first time I actually like came was when I was in like high school. And it was only because I was sick, and so like there was just like this guttural urge in like my literally like that's just how it happened. Where I was just sick, and like your body for whatever reason just naturally wants to like come for that reason, and like that's when I learned, oh, that's how that works. And the reason I the reason I never like went into like I didn't even know what jerking off was in high school. Like I didn't know that stuff. So
how are you so sheltered?
Because I grew up, because when my parents got divorced, I grew up with my two sisters and my mom, and so I just never knew any of this stuff. Like not even in like health ed or whatever, where it's like they teach you this stuff. They don't even like they don't teach you the real shit that you need to know. And so I never knew any of this stuff.
They don't teach you about like pony porn.
Yeah, but I always had this like I always had this like weird urge. And like I especially had it towards like the tail end of living with my like my mom's side of the family, where it's like it was my last year like living in Alaska, and I was like, this place is a fucking hellhole. And like I did dumb shit where I don't know how I didn't get caught, where I used this is gonna sound so fucking stupid. I used the fucking Wii U tablet, you know, the Wii U tablet for the Wii U.
Yeah.
And how you can use the search engine on the Wii U. Like, that's how I found porn for the first time.
Meanwhile, in the other room, it's like up on the fucking TV screen.
No, it wasn't. I was smart enough to know. I was smart enough to do it like at midnight and like have like the HDMI unplugged, and so like the only way someone would be like smart enough to figure this shit out would to be plug in the HDMI cord and then find the Wii U tablet or whatever, and like that was my first like I was like, girls kissing.
You were in high school and you were searching girls kissing.
Well, no, that was the tail end of middle school. But like even then, I didn't know how to jerk off, so I was just like watching it, and I was like, I had a boner that I didn't know what to do with. But then later on, in like this is gonna sound so stupid in fucking high school. Like I didn't have a smartphone in like high school because like that's just. I had a BlackBerry in high school. Hello, guys. I had a BlackBerry in high school. Like, that's my life. And so, the only smartphone technology I had was a 3DS. And so, the only way for me to, like, search up porn was through a 3DS in, like, my home computer. So, anytime I visited, like, my mom in Alaska, like, during the summertime or whatever, I would use my OG original 3DS to look up porn, and you could do that because they had a search engine. It just worked, and for whatever reason, like Pornhub, like fucking like aspect ratios perfectly with the 3DS. And it's like what?
I assume
and, like that's how I watched porn.
The 3DS is probably 3.4, right?
It's some fucking it is 3.4.
That makes
it's
sense.
Strange though. So yeah, and so that's how I watched porn for like. On a fucking 3DS for like the longest time.
A lot of people did that. I tried to do that, but like, by that point, I was just like, well, I have an iPod anyway, so I don't need to do this.
Yeah, or people did it on their like PSPs and shit. Like they download fucking.
I was never tech literate enough to do that kind of thing, like downloading shit. I would never be able to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, shit's fucking weird. But no, so all of this to lead into, like, I think the reason, besides being raised by, like, 3 women, I wasn't, like, too keen on, like, the porn scene was because, like, for whatever reason, my mom definitely liked to sleep around a lot, and it doesn't help being, like, being one of those kids that gets, like, divorced parents at, like, a really, like, formative year, and you're like, oh, man, why can't my parents be back together again? And it's like, well, duh, bitch, you fucking get over yourself. And then it's like, but then being that kid and then having your mom like constantly bone like plethoras upon plethoras of like crazy different men, and then you having to go into her room and be like, hey, mom and stranger, can you take me to school? It's like you just see some random ass naked man next to your mom. It's like, oh, that's not good for the child at all. I don't think that's good. I think that fucks with someone on a very weird level. I don't know what, because when I went to college I didn't take psych, but I'll tell you this much, it definitely changes a man. But that was my whole weird life, Tom.
Yeah, I'm totally the opposite. Like when I was like fucking 10 or something, I remember I knew so little about so when I was, this is a little bit of a setup. When I was little, my parents ran an eBay business, so one of the only search engines I knew about was eBay. I kind of knew.
Did you buy an eBay hooker?
No, I didn't buy anything. I didn't try to buy anything. Okay. But I knew eBay as like a search engine, and I kind of knew Google Images. So when I was very like probably like 10 or 11 maybe, I went on eBay. I went on my dad's eBay account, and I just searched like, you know, the typical shit like boobs, big boobs, adult porn, porn.
You got like the mug with like big boobs on it.
And no, I was just getting like old like VHS porn and shit, and just like looking at like the pictures on the front of the boxes because I didn't know how to just use like fucking Google Images. And then I close the tab and I walk away, and then like a day later, my dad comes to me and he's like, "Did you search for like weird things on eBay?" And I just go fucking white, and I'm like, "No, I didn't do that."
No.
And he was just kind of like, because I saw some stuff on there, and like I just was like, "No, of course not." Like looking back on it, I'm like, he didn't do anything. He didn't care because he's chill about that stuff because he's not a psycho. But like. At the time, I was freaking out. I thought that, like... I knew that he didn't believe me, I think. But, for some reason, I was thinking it was way more serious than it was. I thought that my mom was going to find out about that, and that my parents were going to get a divorce because she thought my dad was searching... Shit. Because my dad was searching boobies. Big boobs, girls naked on eBay. As if he would tell her about it. If he was.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Tom, but your parents are getting divorced, and it's because of that.
That's another thing.
They told me to tell you that.
That's another thing that actually happened once. It was... I came upstairs and my mom was, like, crying really hard, and I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, something really horrible must have happened. And I, like, kind of was listening in. This was recent, by the way. This was, like, within the last, like, 2 or 3 years. I go upstairs and I'm like, oh my god, something really serious must have happened. And it turned out it was because she went into my dad's search history and found porn. And it was like, dude, he's a fucking grown man. You think he doesn't masturbate? Are you fucking serious? He's like 50. You can't be like a real person. This is insane. This is child behavior.
Yeah, I don't know what the... Because I've had people like that in my life constantly. It's so bad, Tom, when it's like you have people in your life who like constantly like... Because I'm sure your mom's not like that, but like I know people who are like... They go bad shit crazy, like crying like constantly, or like getting upset about stuff like constantly. Or just like or taking everything anyone ever says like on the chin. Like not even on the chin, like they're getting fucking pummeled to death with your words. And it's like you didn't have the intention behind that, where it's like you get so jaded by these people that you kind of like stop feeling emotions for them, and it's really bad, like because you can never tell what's really like what's really bad, like what's really actually happening, like what's the shit that's like actually getting you upset.
That's what you can never. One of my sisters is like that. Not the one you're thinking of, the other one, the older, like taller. She's actually not taller, but she's clearly older.
Yeah.
But, like, she's getting better about it, but she used to be, like, on a fucking emotional, like, hair trigger, where it would take almost nothing for her to just snap and start screaming at people. She used to throw shit around the house and, like, she would, like, break, like, game controllers and stuff, because she would just chuck it at your head from across the house. And this kept really going until, like, within the last couple of years.
Yeah, because I've had experiences like that with myself, right? Where when I was like in middle school or whatever, I got pissed off at Soul Calibur 2 because the GameCube controller wasn't working quite right. Like clearly the GameCube controller was broken. I was like, oh, if I just smash it on the ground, maybe I'll jolt something back together and it'll work. Because that actually tends to happen, like with weird like. That works sometimes when you're just like a dumbass kid and you don't know how to fix things. Like you just hit it together and it works.
Percussive maintenance.
It didn't work, and I was like, "This isn't working," and I just threw it on the ground. But because of the way the plastic is made for those GameCube controllers, they kind of jump, and so I threw it. I spiked it so hard on the ground that it like boomeranged up into the TV and like totally like decimated it, like destroyed it.
Sucks.
And I was like,
"That's so shitty."
This is a big problem, and so I just turned it off and I walked away.
Turn 360 and walk away.
That was like an insanely important life lesson I learned about like, oh, I have anger issues. I have really bad anger issues, like to the point where I can like destroy stuff that are like that's like expensive and like has value, and that was like a weird like pivotal moment that I remember constantly, where it's like I can't get mad at video games anymore. Like, because I used to get really pissed off at video games. I learned to find out that actually my anger towards video games was just me venting about having divorced parents and having a shitty mom. Crazy leap in logic, but like that's literally where all that pent up anger came from. And so now when I play video games, I'm just like, whoa, this is a fun game. And even when I fail at something, I'm like, whatever. Like it doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, it's strange to me that, because I can understand where the anger comes from, where it's like you're dealing with something that you don't understand, and then you just get more and more angry, and then it like builds up, and then you just like put shit out on other people or just anything because there's no way to contain it all. And so my real problem is I don't understand these people who get angry about everything, because it's like how can you live? It's like the same people who are like racist, where it's like, how can you actually like how can you do stuff? Because like you're gonna run into the scenario where it's like the key pivotal moment in your time where you need someone to do a thing, and it's like, well, no, I'm just so belligerently angry at this specific race that I just can't. I'm not gonna get my driver's license today because a black guy is at the counter. It's like, what? That weird mindset like destroys your life.
Those people are fascinating because they're always on the edge of. They don't talk about or think about anything else. They're always waiting for an opportunity to bring that up, but it's so specific and weird that it never would come up naturally anyway. That's why you get those videos of the crazy like Facebook moms at Walmart screaming at a person, because it's like they just have this on their mind and they really want to vent about it somewhere, so they just go to Walmart and scream at like some random lady buying chips.
I think that's what it is, Tom. I think these people, because it is the moms, right? It's the people who don't have like, it's not even that they don't have like a social, they just don't have anything where it's like, because it used to be like at the very least the most interaction you would have with being like a mom was like a fucking vacuum salesman guy comes over, and then you're like, oh, I can entertain this guy for like 2 hours, make some tea and shit, have some banter, talk about vacuums, and like that was the outlet. Or like you'd call your friend, or you have like a quilting circle, right? But those are actually like real connections, and those people who do that stuff aren't like mentally insane and like pent up. The insane people, and I'm not using it loosely, I mean they're fucking crazy, is the people who they just like do nothing and they talk to no one. And they're just like,
it makes me sad.
They're the hermits. They're like the suburban hermits. And it's like, you can't live a life like that. Like, and people will say they can, but like, humans are literally, like, this is one of the facets of humans, is we are literally built to be social creatures. We need someone to talk to, or just bounce ideas off of, or just like not go insane, like talking to a wall, because people do that. And it's like, I don't know what happened in their lives to where they became like, not even like they became social outcasts, but they've just chosen a path where they don't want to talk to anyone.
I'll tell you what happens. It's that a lot of people growing. This is the reason I don't have like any like fucking real life friends other than like Discord. It's because a lot of these people growing up, they had outlets for meeting people that were natural. They had school, they had college, then they had their job. They had multiple jobs, so they had multiple groups of friends because of those. But then once they've like settled down and they've had their job for like, 20 years and they have like kids and stuff, suddenly for the first time in your life, you have to go out of your way to make friends, because you're like, I don't have school. I don't have college. I have the same job I always have, so I'm not going to meet new people there. So like, how the fuck do I make friends? That's why most like parents that have social groups, it's just like their friends' parents, their kids' friends' parents, because that's like the most natural way of like meeting people.
Yeah, it's like everyone needs like this weird caveat for talking to people now. Like, I don't think it used to be like this. I feel like you could have just walked into a.
I forgot I was recording this for a podcast. I drew a couple of penises.
That's fine, Tom. That's what we want. I can censor those out. No, it's like, cause
check the stream chat, by the way. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, you think it'd fucking rock my socks off? There's nothing here. There's nothing.
Stream chat. No, not the fucking chat for the channel.
It's not the stream. Not the actual stream.
The real stream chat.
That's good stuff. That's really good stuff, Tom.
I don't use those
viewers
channels.
At home. Yeah, viewers at home, when we have an actual Patreon and we have like uncensored versions of this podcast, that's where you can find this shit, or on Tom's Twitter, I guess. I don't know what we're gonna do with this, but we'll figure it out. No, so like, I guess to hone in back on the like, because like you've seen those videos of like the people who like record like they go to 7-Eleven, but they're like they're recording with like the original things you would record with, right? Where they have like the V8, like the fucking Sony with the VHS tape. It's like they're recording like in the fucking like 90s, and it's like no one has cell phones, and everyone's like, "Hey man," and like everyone's happy because it's like, "Whoa, you have like a piece of like cool technology of like recording people." Like no one has that yet.
Oh, you're talking about
so everyone's like friendly.
That video from the 80s.
Yeah, and everyone's just being like, "Hey, hello," and like. I've seen like videos, like I have family videos because my mom's side was like, they weren't like rich, but they were like, you know, middle class rich, where like you could afford like a camera to record for posterity. And like you would have these like family videos of just like people just being excited that they're on film, like something's gonna last. And now I think now that everyone has the ability to make something that lasts, it's not even interesting anymore, to the point where people won't record anything, or they'll take a photo and it'll just get lost in like the thousands upon thousands of other photos. And so it's just like, I don't understand the world I live in now, Tom. I feel like I'm crazy. I feel like I'm going crazy all the time.
You feel like you're taking your crazy pills?
Yeah, something like that. I feel like
I think the reason that, well, because the main difference now is that if you pull out your phone and start walking around at 7-Eleven with your camera out, people are just gonna like avoid you or like fucking punch you in the head, because it's like, why the fuck are you like documenting me and like putting me out there? Whereas back then, like it was a culture where like not literally everyone could become famous and like publish themselves. Like it was.
Yeah, there's no way to upload that VHS video onto the internet because the internet wasn't a thing.
It was two things. It was that where it was like, there's not like much of a chance that this like becomes a big thing. Like, I'm just documenting myself and it's cool. It's like, I'm on camera. Oh, look at that. Like, I've never been on camera before. That's like a thing that's usually done for like television. And the other thing aside of it is that like, let's say that did end up on TV. That wouldn't be like, it's not like social media where like suddenly you're famous forever and like people will harass you for 15 years. It's like, oh my god, kids, get in the room, look, I'm on TV, isn't that so cool? Oh my god, there was a guy in the 7-Eleven, he had a camera, and now I'm on TV.
Whoa. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like everyone can just put themselves out there and people are like, I want some privacy.
Not only that, but even TV broadcast didn't even last, because like, if it's the news, who the fuck... Like, yeah, you could, like, VHS the news, like, if you had one, but, like, no one's doing that. No one's, like... The only people doing that are the people who were on there and were like, oh, I gotta capture this. I gotta... Honey, get the recorder out.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's those people, and then, like, archivists who are just like, I want to make sure, you know, every single opening of, like, every news broadcast on, like, Fox 5 is downloaded... Yeah. So that we can have it for posterity.
And most of those people just work for like public libraries that do that stuff already, where they just constantly archive, and then they make money archiving because then you'll have that one weirdo who's like, I want the Maxaroni commercial from 1998, specifically the one where it cuts to the Subway commercial and in the specific like news broadcast, and it's like, yeah, I don't know if we could find that, but here's the news broadcast, and it's like, okay, thanks.
It's honestly, that's one of the things. They sell it. That's one of the best things that the internet has done is, like, it's created it's very, like, kind of underground. You don't hear about it, you don't think about it, but it's there. This, like, hidden community of people who their whole thing is, like, archiving content that no one cares about. Like, I'm sure you've seen the Defunctland video, right? About, the Disney Channel theme. There's a whole part of that video where it's just like, oh yeah, there's like multiple wikis that are just dedicated to keeping track of like the Disney Channel like interstitials, and they all like are fucking. And like it goes so deep, like these communities are so tight knit for something so niche and specific that they have like different words for like different parts of different eras. It's like how that's incredible that there's that many people that they have to build their own like vocabulary to like communicate these things.
Yeah, it's not like you're making money off of this either. It's purely for like your own like satisfaction. Because like, I'll be honest, I have to go on some of those forums to like find very specific music where it's like, okay, where's this one jingle that goes and it's like it's public domain. We literally had this discussion like earlier, Tom, where I was looking for like a public use domain song that's used SpongeBob, in like kids cartoons, and it's in SpongeBob. It's the one, for those wondering, it's the one where Patrick's riding on the little seahorse in his dream state. It's that song. It's classic, and it's like, I don't know the name of it because I was a kid watching fucking SpongeBob, so all I have to go off of, and I didn't even know it was from SpongeBob for the longest time because I just forgot. I did, like, those wires weren't connected in my head. Yeah. So I was literally like deep diving, and I was like, okay, I know for a fact it's on one of these like kids cartoons that used like free use music. So SpongeBob's a classic go to because they have like a shit ton of like music that they just used that was all like free to use. And so I just went down the list. I clicked on each single one, and someone went out of their way to archive not only the music and find good ones, but to make an entire playlist of like the 128 like sounds that fucking SpongeBob uses and the music they use. I was like, well, and this is gonna be my day. I'm gonna click through all of these until I find the exact tune I'm looking for, and I found it like after like 38 clicks. So I got lucky. But yeah, it's crazy to me that people just do that stuff. And that's not to say like, oh yeah, we're done, like we don't need to archive anymore. It's like, nah, there's like tons of shit that just goes to the wayside that nobody even talks about because it's not even worth mentioning. For instance, this is archived, but no one would know this unless you lived in Alaska. There's this guy who has a mattress store, and he's the only guy who has that mattress store because Alaska's a remote place. So if you're gonna build a chain, build it in Alaska. And it's literally like this fucking rodeo barn fucking mattress store. And he has these wacky ass commercials of him just singing. And like the thing is though, he can pay for like a shit ton of broadcasting time because one, not a lot of people are paying for broadcasting time in Alaska, so it's all free real estate. And so he just has like these fucking like 30-minute long commercials, or maybe even a minute long commercials of him just like doing his little jig in front of like his mattress store, dancing around. And he's like this old like fucking Six Flags guy where it's like, this guy's like seen some shit, like he's been in a war or two, and now he's selling mattresses to me, doing the little dance. And it's fucking hilarious every time you watch it. It's so hilarious, in fact, that everyone in Alaska knows this mattress man. And so
everyone like
that's your homework for today.
Parts of Alaska?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Because he has like he has stores in fucking Juneau, Ketchikan, and like one other. Like he has like, back when I lived there, he had like 3 fucking different stores. Maybe he didn't have one in Juneau, but he definitely had one in Ketchikan.
I always love like ultra regional like comedy and stuff like that. Stuff where it's like people would only understand and appreciate this. I have this weird knack for like understanding in jokes that I'm not privy to. Like I'm able to tell like, oh, this is an in joke, and instantly kind of reconstruct the setup for it in the back of my head. And like I love that kind of stuff. It's so fun to just see like, oh, I see, like this is a person who's famous but only in this one very specific spot, and everyone there is like very self-aware about the fact that they're like that small yet famous.
Yeah. Do you know Crazy Bruce's Liquor, Tom?
I don't.
That's another classic one. That's like, I think I don't know which state has Crazy Bruce's Liquor, but it's literally like the same concept where it's this guy, not old, but like, you know, he's seen some shit.
Crazy Bruce.
And Crazy Bruce has seen some shit. That's why he's named Crazy Bruce, alright? Get with it. And literally all he's doing is he's doing a little jig and he's singing like, Crazy Bruce's Liquor. Like that's all he's doing. We got the bargains for you. Woo, woo. Like that's literally all he's singing.
That's awesome.
And it's the funniest shit in the world.
We used to have car dealerships around us that would do TV ads like that, where it was just like, I didn't understand the premise of like a local advertisement for a long time when I was little. So I would just see this really shitty, low-budget thing of, like, some guy standing in front of a fucking bunch of cars with a big foam hand on, like arrow on his hand and a big fake, like 10-gallon hat, going, "Come on down to our place, get the best cars in the country." And I would just be like, they made this in, like, for, like, national television? Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's like, it feels like a mistake.
I'm not gonna buy a car from them.
Like, how did this end up on TV?
It's so strange now, Tom, because, like, I don't watch commercials that often, but when I do, it baffles me because those same commercials are, like, good now. Like,
oh yeah,
in Missouri, there's this car dealership where literally the premise is the guy has, like, he has a family, you know, because he's family values, and so literally all of his fucking videos, they're not even videos, they're commercials, because this isn't a YouTube, this is an ad, this is a literal ad. All of his ads are like him talking to his family about how they should make better deals for the dealership. And, like, it's not even, like, funny or, like, interesting. It's like a guy got his family to, like, act because he wouldn't have to pay actors for ad space. So, like, that's all that premise is. And it's like, it's well, like, shot, like, it's in HD, and it's like, because, like, you can film HD easy now, like, with your fucking phone, and, like, getting good audio quality is even easier. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Speaking of, I had this, like, I wouldn't say an asshole, but clearly a man on this, not even on the spectrum. It's, you know, those people who, like, they talk like a mile a minute, and they're smart asses, but they're smart, so it's fine if they're an ass, because, like, he clearly knows what he's talking about.
I always think that's more frustrating. Like, it's like, goddamn.
Yeah, because you can't get one over on them.
He's a prick, but also he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, so I had this guy who was basically that in, like, my carpentry class when I was building houses and stuff, and his dad was, like, a union carpenter or whatever, so there's the context. But, like,
I actually put the penis back on screen for a second.
That's fine, I can censor it. But the thing was, because his fucking dad was rich because he was in the union or whatever, his dad bought him a phone that was, like, 4K and shit like that. And he was literally ranting and raving about it, like how he can, like, film 4K and how he can, like, his images are 4K. And the only reason I was able to get one over on him was because I knew technology. I was like, hey, man, that literally doesn't matter because, one, there's, like, no 4K videos out right now to even watch and take advantage of the screen. Two, if you do record a 4K video, it's going to take up so much goddamn storage. And where are you going to watch the video? On your HD TV or on your shitty 4K phone that's so small that there's really no point in it being 4K to begin with. And it's like, that's all I told him, and, like, that was the only way. That was the only thing that ever, like, shut it up. He was like, yeah, fair enough, right? But, man, that guy was great. He taught me a lot of shit about carpentry, even if he was a prick. He was fucking my same age.
I thought you were gonna say he was fucking my sister.
No, my sisters all live in Alaska.
Was he fucking your mom?
If you want to dox them. My mom also lives in Alaska.
What if he bought a plane ticket?
It's an expensive plane ticket. It's like a day-long trip
like,
to most places.
Yeah, you're like, she's not worth it.
I don't know, Tom. If you've seen my mom, not saying nothing.
What does
she
that
gets
mean?
Around.
Are you saying your mom's
Tom,
hot?
not...
Are you saying you want to
clearly, if she was able to sleep with, like, so many fucking men, like, obviously.
I don't know about that. I feel like a lot of guys are so fucking sex starved that, like, a fucking tree would walk up to them and say, "You want to fucking?" He'd be like, "Yes, please."
Yeah, you'd fuck a tree, Tom.
I'd fuck a tree.
You'd tree lady.
If a tree approached me first. If a tree lady approached me, absolutely.
Yeah. You would ruffle her leaves.
Yeah, that's all I would do. She'd give me fucking splinters in my dick.
But you would come more because you're a masochist.
No.
I'm a masochist. Not a lot of people know that.
That's not
so now
true.
You know, viewers. It is true.
You put, like, pins and needles in your cock?
No, but I fucked around with wax.
Ouch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the point. Yeah, Tom, when you get abused as a kid, you kind of like make weird patterns in your head. It's wacky and crazy. Also, just some people are born that way. I don't know why. There's more. Get Bill Nye on the phone. Get Neil deGrasse.
Yeah, kids. Yeah.
Ask him why.
Ask him about why the school shootings don't matter because more people die from medical malpractice.
Yeah. School shootings don't matter, Tom. That's the political stance on this podcast I'd like to have.
Have you ever seen
they actually do
a more dramatic fall in public opinion than Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Honestly, no.
Other than a person turning out to be like a pedophile or something, I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson is the worst. Like everyone just universally fucking hates him.
It's crazy to me that people got like, you know how like during the whole Epstein thing that we make jokes about constantly, like how people got like dumbstruck and were like, "What? This guy's a pedophile?" It's like, dude, man, the fucking industry has been full of pedophiles since day one. Like, there's so many like actors that I know are pedophiles. I know them more because they're pedophiles who are actors rather than actors who are pedophiles. Like, that's how bad it is. Where it's like, the fucking what is it? Fucking
who's the guy who like all of his like victims suddenly died before the trial?
I have no clue about that one. What I do know is the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the principal. That guy's a pedophile. The principal is a pedophile. Like that. That's just. And the only reason he was outed as a pedophile was because he wasn't famous enough to be an actor. Like that's all that happens. That's all that industry ever is. It's like you either die a pedophile or you get famous enough, and then no one cares.
You either die a pedophile or you live long enough to become Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
Kevin Spacey is who I was thinking of.
Oh yeah. It's just fuck. And also, the amount of actors that get away with like murdering people is also ridiculous.
I feel like that doesn't happen so much anymore. But like, if you go back to like the '80s, that happened like all the time. It's like, yeah, this guy just got angry and killed his wife, and they just kind of like brushed it under the rug.
You talking about OJ?
Oh, I wasn't even, but yeah, that was the '90s.
That's literally one of them. Yeah, no, there's like other ones where it's like, yeah, this guy killed an entire Irish family, just ran them down. He's fine.
Yeah, well, who was that? Who was that?
I forget
know exactly
his name.
What you're talking about.
Let me look it up.
I'll
look it up while you.
What about the guy who mercilessly beat a Vietnamese man to near death?
I don't think that was an actor.
That was no. Hold on. I'm. That's a real story.
Now we're all just looking up shit. Murdered by actor.
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg?
Hold on.
William Desmond. No, wait, hold on, that's wrong. Matthew Broderick was the one.
Yes. Yeah. I always conflate those two. I always think that Mark Wahlberg did both of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg is the one who assaulted and attempted murdered 2 Vietnamese men, and Matthew Broderick is the one who killed an entire family of Irish people, and then like gaslit the like surviving family into being like, it's okay, we forgive.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I think Ireland has been screwed over one too many times. I know, bold statement, but
did you know that their population still hasn't recovered to the potato famine level?
Well, yeah, no shit, because like everyone fucking either died or moved.
Well, yeah, but you'd think that like just exponential growth, it would have just naturally come back.
I don't think so, because it's like. It's a weird scenario because like that whole book end of like Ireland like doesn't end well. Like it keeps getting worse from there. Like it's not like the Irish potato famine happened, and everything else in Ireland has been okay and peachy. It's like, no, it's been fucking bad. Like, one, you know about it, Tom, where it's like that fucking the weird like religious thing they had because like
the Troubles.
Yeah, because of like. Yeah, because like England was in. That's a whole other thing where it's like England owns like some of Ireland. Yeah.
It was largely because during the Easter Revolution, where Ireland broke away from Britain, they were like, Britain basically said, "But we're going to keep this part of the island for ourselves."
Yeah,
which is, that's such a great idea. That's such a great idea, guys. It's like, how did they fucking think that was gonna end? Like, of course, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
And it's like
that whole thing ended with Ireland basically almost gained their independence, but then a bunch of the Irish leaders that they'd arrested were on hunger strike in prison, and the British were just so like fucking, because the hunger strikes they worked in America, they worked in like India. But for some reason, the British were just like, you know what, fuck it, we'll just be evil this time. They let them all starve to death. And then
they've been evil all the time.
No, but I mean, like, there were times where Britain gave in to hunger strikes, like in India, for example, with Gandhi. But with this one, they were just like, you know what, fuck it, let's just let them starve to death, and then their leadership is gone, and now we can just reassert control.
Yeah, Ireland has never had, like, the good... Like, they've only been getting beaten down constantly. And, like, even in fucking the EU fucking Brexit shit, like, that's a whole other fucking debacle because, like, that fucks up their whole borders.
They're getting fucked over still because of Britain, despite not even being part of Britain.
Yeah. It's so fucking... Yeah, fuck you, England. Yeah, what a crazy stance, but fuck you, England. 1 through 3, Tom, will you say fuck England, alright? 1, 2, 3, fuck you, England.
Fuck you, England. Got him.
Okay. Yep.
That country's gonna break apart soon. They're gonna break into fucking
I hope so.
Scotland, Wales, and what's the other one? I guess it's Northern Ireland.
I have no... The only caveat I have with that, Tom, is I don't know if they will because of the whole Eurodollar thing. You know about the Eurodollar?
No.
So, like, the way for, like, people to have, like, offshore, like, bank accounts and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for it to make sense was for them to invent this thing called the Eurodollar, where it's the cash equivalent of, like, a normal dollar. And, like, and these, like, these, like, fucking, like, islands and shit that have, like, one bank on them.
Mm-hmm.
People just stuff all their, like, evil money that they don't want to be taxed on, like, anything. They stuff it into the Eurodollar because Britain won't fucking tax them on that shit. And then Britain, like, makes bank on it because of their weird, like, property system on top of that. I'm horribly, like, conflating this and, like, describing it wrong, but that's basically the gist of it, where it's like,
but wouldn't you still be able to use that if Scotland separated from Great Britain and just became Scotland? Wouldn't their, like, people still be able to just use those banks?
I mean, maybe, but, like, the biggest... I'm not even talking about that. I want England to fall and die, but, like... sorry, England, get good, but...
It's not even England. It's, like, I just want those countries to be separate countries that can self-govern. Like, I think that once England is on... Well, it's the weird thing where it's, like, being part of the EU... It's the same reason that America is such a powerful country. It's that it's all this gigantic continent that's all one country. The reason the EU is so powerful is they have, like, just like the States, each country in the EU has a lot of self-governance power, but they're all part of one overall legal entity, and that's what gives them so much power on the world stage. They can generally be treated as one country.
Because you can imagine how ridiculous it is. This is literally what England's dealing with now, where it's like, if you could imagine, if you will, if the United States weren't so united, and every time you had to move cargo around, you'd had to pay a fucking tax.
Customs.
Like, I went
from Oklahoma, and you had to fucking pay customs tax and show your visa.
Yeah, and so there's no way to get fucking oranges to, like, people in Texas because, like, I have to pay, like, 3 different taxes to, like, 3 different states because I have to, like, drive through them. So it's like, fuck it, you're not getting oranges unless we fly them over.
That's the
and, like,
one
that comes with
thing
that comes with a whole other
yeah
myriad of bullshit, because it's like, well, each state has their own fucking flyover zone where it's like, you don't have clearance for this airspace because fucking Texas wants to be its own little goddamn fucking militaristic, continent, and it just wants to shoot everything down. It's like, well, goddamn it, I guess we can't fly over Texas now. It's like you come up with so many weird quandaries and like missteps when you can't like have a United States of America.
Yeah.
It fucks with a lot of flow. It makes things work slower.
It's a Turtle Dove book, right? This United States of America.
I have no idea. I'm not literate, Tom. I can't read.
I only know from alternate history hub videos, but it's just like a book that's all about that. It's like, what if all the states were the same states, but for some reason they all were like separate countries now?
Yeah, because like it would be fucked up for some states because literally that's
some states would get reason. Rhode Island would get absorbed instantly.
Yeah,
probably West Virginia would immediately get taken over by not Virginia, but rather like Ohio. Things like that. But in the story, it's much more complicated. Really, what would probably happen, to be entirely honest, is they would all just get together and be like, we should be one country. I think this would be very useful for us. But for the purpose of the story, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, the whole reason we're like in these like separate states is because of the whole nature of how America even got founded in the first place, which was different settlers coming here and being like, we're going to make a better England, and then the Irish coming in and being like, fuck England, and they move closer to the west, and like the Scots-Irish were like, fuck England, and they keep moving further to the west.
Well, a big part of
why then, like, a bunch of people
we have such so many states in the first place is because of slavery. Because people, they were like, well, we want, if we didn't have the slavery issue, a lot of our states would probably be way bigger. Like, the reason they kept making a bunch of tiny little states over and over all across the country was because, okay, well, if we're going to add a slave state, we also need to add a free state. If we're going to add 2 slave states, we need to add 2 free states. So they would just keep, like, cutting territories up into pieces.
You know what's crazy about that concept is, like, it's in, like, almost everything you look at, like, from, like, America in memoriam. Like, this is gonna sound fucking batshit crazy, Tom, but even in Alaska, there's that same concept where it's like, if you're gonna have a bar, you have to have an equal amount of churches. That is a literal law in Alaska that they still have to follow to this day.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they, so, okay, here. This is actually a real question. It's on the books as a law, but is it enforced?
Yes, it is enforced. They do follow it because if you go to, because it's a zoning thing at the end of the day, and you can't fuck around with the zoning committee. But like, if you go to Juneau, Alaska, or any Alaska place, it makes sense. I think it makes sense logistically because if you think about it, Alaska is the most depressing hellhole on Earth, and people get depressed a lot there. So what do you do when you're depressed? You drink a lot, and then you die. But then if you have church, you get like a little equal balance because everyone has to go to church because this was like in the fucking like 70s or whatever, like 60s. Yeah, not anymore. But like still, the church thing was like a good way to like, bless you of your sins and like have a community. So, you go to church, you drink. You go to church, you drink. So it balances it out so you're not drinking all the time. But like if you go to Juneau or any other like place in Alaska, you will see an ungodly amount of churches, like five churches in Juneau.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, it feels like it would create
15. Yeah, it creates a big fucking.
It would create perverse incentives where like you're a guy who wants to start a bar and you're just like, I guess I'll fund a church too. Just put up a fucking wooden box. It doesn't need to be insulated. It doesn't need to have anything fancy. Just put up a church. It's Protestant, so it can look like shit.
It has to be a real ass church. Like it has to be like zoned down. Shit,
I mean, yeah, but it doesn't need to be expensive.
The specifications.
It's probably Protestant because Americans are mostly Protestant, which means that it can just be a wooden fucking box.
And there are a lot of Protestant churches.
And then you just bring a fucking like, get a priest. Say, hey, I'll pay you like fucking whatever from like the profits of the bar. And you can be the priest of this church that no one goes to.
Yeah. It's crazy. People do follow those like bad shit laws sometimes because they just have to. But it works out in the end. It's like
a really fucking weird, like, religious version of the that law they started in, I think, the 80s, where it was like, okay, for every smoking ad you put on television, you need to fund, or no, it was for every 3 smoking advertisements, you need to fund at least 1 anti-smoking PSA.
Yeah.
And that worked. Like,
fucking...
smoking dropped pretty dramatically in that era.
Until the new smoking ads came out and they look epic and cool, and you have like Fortnite dance characters being like, "Don't vape," but they're fighting a vape dragon, and it's like it's badass.
That reminds me.
It's like, wow.
You know what's funny is a smoking like a cigarette company bought one of those like vape companies, I think Juul or something, and immediately discontinued all the flavors that like were designed to try to get kids into it because they were like, well, we don't want to get regulated. Which really, it's more. It sounds like it's good at first, but then you realize it's more insidious because it's like, oh, they're just trying to avoid getting regulated so that they can manipulate people in more subtle ways.
Yeah, it's crazy because like, this is a big deal in like our world because the books literally changed. It wasn't too long ago that kids could smoke when they were not even kids. You could smoke when you were 18. Mm-hmm. Like that was still a thing, and now you have to be 21 to smoke. And that was because of the whole Juul craze. Like that Juul's coming out to the scene fucked up like our laws to where we're like, yep, drinking and smoking, you have to be 21.
Are you sure?
Sorry, bros.
I'm pretty sure it's been 21 since I can remember.
That's because it's separate states had the rule. It was 21, but not all of them. And like Missouri was one of the holdouts where they're like, yeah, okay, we're going to turn it to 21. And now every state, it has to be 21. Because I think enough states have it to be 21 now.
I mean, yes, but no, because it's not just that, like, once enough states have a law, it becomes national law. It's that they also have to go out of their way to go to the government and say, hey, can we make this a national law? And then all the states have to, like, actively sign off on that.
Yeah.
That's why so few laws have, like, actually gone into effect that way.
Yeah. You need like 35 states to do that, and then you have to get the rest of the states on board. Mm-hmm. It's like something weird like that.
You need to get 35
That's why
states
women are still not equal in America.
You need to get 35 states to sign on to the law, to have the law in the first place, and then to go on to sign it and say, yes, we want this to apply to the whole country.
Yeah, it's wacky. America's great. We can make laws whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, technically the people have the power to add amendments to the Constitution, and it's never happened because they make it too hard.
Well, no, actually, you're right. We haven't done that yet still. Because it's like, everyone thinks like, oh, but you abolished slavery. And it's like, well, technically, the whole abolishing slavery, yeah, and that wasn't even like, it wasn't like written law that like slavery was like a thing. It's like, it's the same thing with like banned alcohol with the...
Like, it was an amendment to the Constitution that slavery was banned. Mm-hmm. It's not like it was like a coy roundabout thing. They just said straight up like enslavement is now illegal in this country. Yeah, and it wasn't like because what we're talking about is, for people who don't know, it's like the first like 10 amendments, right? Because those were the first ones. Those were the big 10, right? And those came exactly at this. Yeah, those were the same ones that came exactly when we kind of like changed our tune about the whole taxation thing in America, where it's like, actually, we do need to tax people so that we can build roads and shit. And then, this is a little history section now, so that people get smarter. But the only amendments that we've changed were the ones that we put in place after the 10. Like, no one touches the golden 10. Yeah. Like, that's actually not true. If you go back through the first 10 amendments, I think that there are parts of them that are now I really liked the way my textbook was laid out, because it had all of the amendments in their entirety, and the way it was written was that any parts of the amendments that had been superseded by later amendments were now just crossed out, but you could still read them very easily. It was a very thin line just to tell you this part is no longer valid. And if I remember correctly, there were a couple parts of the first 10 that had been superseded by later amendments. Probably something about property ownership, where it was like, because later amendments more thoroughly laid out, like, humans can't be property, and everyone goes, okay.
Yeah. Well, because that's how it works, though, right? Because at the end of the day, it's up to the people to define what the words mean in the amendments.
Yeah.
When I mean, like, no one's touched the golden tenet, it's more like no one's, like, totally eradicated one of them, right? Which we do for, like, because we had one for, because Americans, crazy enough, call us crazy, but we got rid of alcohol, like we made it illegal, and then we made because instead of removing the amendment to get rid of alcohol, we just made another one that was like, ignore this one.
Don't look at that one.
That's a secret one. That's a little secret one. You skip that one.
Milkshake. They'll be posted on YouTube. Milkshake.
They're not in here. They can't see it.
Oh, they're not? They posted...
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be posting them very shortly. We're going to... Actually, by the next podcast, this is set in stone, the first podcast will be uploaded. So, whatever your timeline is watching these, whether it's now or later, figure it out. Do some math. Learn something for once. God damn it. Stop using ChatGPT to figure out when the Game Grumps fired JonTron, alright? Stop using ChatGPT to figure out this weird couth shit. Go fucking smell the roses, alright? Don't ask ChatGPT what the roses smell like. Do you think that's going to be the new movie? Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think that's going to be the new movie? Where instead of, like, him, like, telling people to get on their desks and shit, it's like, you don't ask the computer what the roses smell like. You look in your books to find what the roses smell like. It's like, what? Like, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, he's saying it's like one layer removed.
Yeah, I want that. I want that in my life.
It's like,
I think we're done.
It's like Socrates fucking mumbling in his writings about these kids reading their books nowadays.
Reading their tablets.
No, that's Aristotle.
Back in my day, you had to yeah, that was Aristotle, actually. Yeah. It's funny how they complain about the same shit.
It's so...
I don't remember everything orally.
I think that was... Oral. I think it was in a Vsauce video that I first learned about that. How, like, everyone's like, oh, phones these days, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, he's like, yeah, but, like, if you look at this writing, he was complaining about books. And if you go back even further, this guy was complaining about, like, tablets and, like, mathematics because, whatever happened to the good old days of tracking things in your mind. It's like, that's a terrible idea. Why would we ever go back?
Abacus, more like Abba shit. Get it out of here.
Abacus my ass. This is a piece of shit.
I want to see the angry video game nerd, but like the Roman version.
Greece.
Yeah.
Abacus.
He's like a greaser still. He would still have the same accent, kind of, too, because he would be in Greece. It'd be great.
Caesar? More like seize my dick.
Caesar? More like Caesar is what I'm gonna have.
More like geezer. This guy keeps having seizures.